Yo, what's up, guys? Teacher Paul here, and today we are looking at the bad sides of São Paulo. I know a lot of people are already typing in the comments and saying there are no bad sides of São Paulo. So, this is a video from a channel called Nordic Investor, which he is a Swedish YouTuber, I would say, who is commenting on São Paulo. He talked about everything that is good in São Paulo so far, and we split this in two parts because it's a long video. So we already reacted to all the good things of São Paulo, and now we're going to look at the bad sides of São Paulo. And thank you so much for this. Thank you, Nami, for the coffee. If you want to request videos, guys, go over there. So let's take a look at the bad side of São Paulo, because we can't just look at the good sides, okay? And as someone who has lived in São Paulo for 8 years, as an adult, I must say, I know my way around São Paulo. Sorry, guys. Tô doente. I am sick, but let's go. And I do need to disclose that this is my hometown. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Okay, guys. So we're going to react to Tropa de Elite. Link is in the description if you want to go and support on the wishlist. Thank you, Hansi.
I love you.
Thank you, Whiplash, too. Tropa de Elite reaction. If you guys don't know what's going on, we have a wishlist right over here where you guys can help us out. Tropa de Elite is almost over there, like almost halfway, and we can react to it as soon as we hit the goal. Okay? Thank you, guys. And we're live on Twitch. Okay, you guys ready? Let's go.
Okay, so now let's talk about some of the negative points of Sao Paulo. And let's start with infrastructure. So like I said, Sao Paulo is a massive city. In the metropolitan area, there's 20 million. And these 20 million are crammed into this one city. And that causes a lot of problems. And one of them is traffic. So traffic in Sao Paulo can be horrible. So I went to Sao Paulo recently and I arrived on a Monday morning at the airport of Congonhas, which is in the center of Sao Paulo. And this is what I was greeted with, just lots and lots of traffic.
Oh, that's easy.
This is the queue for getting a taxi.
But the cars are moving, so you're doing great. The real problem is where cars stop moving. Sometimes you can stay in a car and not move 1 kilometer for literally an hour or more. I remember that there were times that I was 15 minutes away from my place and I couldn't move. Literally could not move. And it took 1 hour to get to a 15-minute place. That's insane. It's insane. But it is what it is. There are kilometers of traffic.
So it goes all the way back there, and it took nearly an hour for me to be able to get a taxi.
Welcome to São Paulo.
So there can be lots of problems with traffic. I mean, they have implemented some things like
the corridor
municipal to try and reduce the number of cars driving around in the city center.
Yeah, so the way that works is you have your license plates, right? So on Mondays or Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday, any day of the week, you will have a number that you cannot drive your car. Like if your plate number ends in 1 or 2, you can't drive it on a Monday. Or on a Tuesday, if your plate number ends on 3 and 4, you can't drive it there. You know what I'm saying? You guys have that in Europe or no?
In the number of cars driving around in the city center, but it hasn't managed to solve everything, that's for sure. But I mean, this isn't just an issue in Sao Paulo. Many other cities in Brazil also have lots of traffic problems, and also other countries as well.
Wait until it rains.
That I really don't like about Sao Paulo is the airport Congonhas. So I mentioned earlier the airport called Guarulhos, which is a big international airport more on the outskirts of Sao Paulo. So that's big and fairly organized and good. But then you've got...
Is he going to talk about the landing? He must show the landing.
another airport in the center of Sao Paulo called Congonhas. And that airport, I do not like at all. And that's because it's small and super, super busy. So this video I shot here
Gosh.
is me going to my gate. And you can just see it's just this small area with, I don't know, about 10, 15 gates and everyone crammed in here. And then they make
Looks like he's in a
announcements,
bus
but you can't
station.
hear the announcements because everyone's talking and it's super hot and it's just total chaos. So in my opinion, this is not a good airport at all. But they can't really do much because it's in the center of Sao Paulo, so they can't really expand it much. And it's
They can't expand any of it.
It's so practical to go to this one rather than have to drive to the outskirts of Sao Paulo to go to Guarulhos. And also the other...
So I'm going to tell you something sad. There is a very short runway. So the runway is short and the plane has a very limited time to land, right? Very short. And on the end of the runway, it's the highway. So there was this very horrible accident which happened where the plane couldn't land in time. Then it went off onto the highway straight into a community. It was one of the worst moments, in our aviation history.
Infrastructure problems, so for example sewage. So Sao Paulo treats about 70% of its sewage, about 30% goes straight out into the rivers. And a lot
we have a very, I hope he shows it, but we have a river called Chiete, which if you want to test your smell, and see if it's working, you got to go there. A lot of people who lost their sense of smell during COVID, they would go to Chiete just to feel if that cures them. And I think some got cured because they could smell that even with no smell sense anymore.
Rivers in Sao Paulo, they stink from sewage.
Pinheiros,
that's for sure. And so that's another problem. And then also Sao Paulo can have some problems as well supplying water to all the residents as well. I mean, I remember back in 2015, 2016, there was this severe drought and lack of water in Sao Paulo.
Oh yeah, I remember
all the
this.
Reservoirs in Sao Paulo ran dry and
I remember
people didn't have water and it was very, very bad. And since then there've been some smaller issues as well with certain neighborhoods not getting a supply of water because there's a lack of it. And another problem that Sao Paulo faces is poverty and crime as well. So there's lots of wealthy people in Sao Paulo, but then there's lots of poor people as well.
It's it's crazy the difference between these two things. It's crazy. The difference between the rich and the poor, the inequality is crazy.
About 80,000 people who live on the streets. I mean, that's a big number. I mean, that's basically a small city of people who just live on the streets in Sao Paulo. And then Sao Paulo also has lots of favelas or shanty towns as well. And they estimate about 3 million people live in favelas in Sao Paulo. So some of the big and famous ones are Heliópolis.
I've been there.
And also Paraisópolis.
I've been there too.
So those are two big favelas. Yeah. Now the favelas in Sao Paulo are a bit different to Rio. So in Rio you kind of got...
Let me just show you one thing for you guys to understand what I'm talking about when I say inequality. This image will show it 100%. And you guys will understand what I'm talking about. Let me just pull up the image. So this is what I'm talking about when we talk about inequality. So on one side is the favela Paraisópolis, which means paradise metropolis, like Opolis is like a metropolis. So Paraisópolis, which is the metropolis of paradise. So on one side, you can see this is a luxury condominium. It's a luxury compound of buildings. And on the other side is the beginning of the favela, and it's separated by a wall. So this is what I say there are a lot of differences. So on one side it's Paraisópolis, on the other side it's the Murumbi neighborhood, and it's crazy to see how people live like differently. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane because on one hand you have people who are earning 10, 20,000 a month. Actually, you know, the politicians, their base salary starts at 10, 11,000 a month, while the minimum wage is 1,500. So you can see that in a country where people earn a minimum of 1,500, there are people who are earning 10, 15, 20, 30, and even more. There are some people who even earn more. You know, some politicians earn up to 100,000 per month, which is absolutely insane. And that's why everybody wants to be a politician in Brazil. That's the truth.
The favelas right in the center of the city, and you've got really expensive apartment buildings right next to favelas. In Sao Paulo, it's a bit different. I mean, you have
it's a famous
some
picture
in the city center. A lot of them are kind of more on the outskirts. So you see the favelas a bit less in Sao Paulo than you do in Rio when you're walking around the central neighborhoods. And some of these favelas in Sao Paulo can be very dangerous, lots of crime, while others are a bit more...
I mean, is it true what he said? I don't know, because you see favelas a lot of places. The difference is that the favelas in São Paulo, most of them are hidden, you know. They're kind of like flat, you know. We have different types. We have the flat ones, and I think in Rio you see them more because they are on the hills, you know. You have to go up the hill. But in São Paulo, you have those, and sometimes you don't even notice. I remember I went into one because, as I told you before, we used to do a lot of charity work, and we used to go to these places to help people. And I remember there was like a small door in a wall, like a normal wall, and a small door. But once you get in there, it's a huge city. It's a city inside there. It's like, dude, I can't even begin to explain how it is. It's intriguing, it's interesting, but also a lot of poverty there.
More calm and a bit safer. But also with a lot of poverty comes crime.
I'm talking about Brais, for example. There was just a door, and then you went in, and it's insane.
And a bit safer. But also with a lot of poverty comes crime. So I mean, I mentioned earlier that when I was walking through kind of the central neighborhoods of Sao Paulo, I saw a lot of police. But I mean, it's very difficult for the police to police 20 million people. So there is still a fair bit of crime in Sao Paulo. So if you look at the website Numbeo, for example, here they give an indication of crime levels in various cities. I mean, it's not that accurate, but it just gives you a feel for it.
Thank you, Nami.
See here that Sao Paulo has a ranking of 70. And then if you compare that to Florianopolis, for example, here in the south, the ranking is 47. So it's saying that crime in Sao Paulo is significantly higher than Florianopolis. But then if you go to Rio, for example, there's 75. So a bit higher than Sao Paulo. And if you go
check Salvador. Wow.
Here, the crime in some of the cities.
So I have lived in São Paulo. I've lived in Florianopolis. I have lived... well, I haven't lived in Recife, but you know, my parents used to live there, and I used to visit often. But I've been there. I've been to Maceió as well. I haven't been to Salvador or Fortaleza, but I hear it's very dangerous as well.
Even higher, so like Salvador, it's 76. And if we just compare that to, for example, London, it's 54. Stockholm is 46.
London has higher crime. It has a higher crime rate than Florianopolis. See, that's why people love these places in the south.
So it's saying.
Why didn't he show Bergen?
crime levels are relatively high in Sao Paulo. But what I would say is that when I walked through some of the more central neighborhoods of Sao Paulo, I felt relatively safe because there were lots of police. But then there are other neighborhoods that you really do want to avoid. And there are one or two of them in the center. So where they have the big cathedral, for example, there you do need to be a bit careful. It's here. So this area here, for example, is slightly dodgy.
Slightly,
I mean,
bro.
It's still worth going to look at.
100% dodgy.
Be careful with your possessions.
Oh man,
and don't go.
I just remembered there was a hostage situation which was televised, where. See, the thing is, let me tell you the story about Catedral or Praça da Sé, which is the Sé Square. It is full of homeless people, At least it was when I was there, and it gets a bad reputation because of that. But in a very sad twist, there was this hostage situation where a guy was on the door of this cathedral holding a woman hostage, and a homeless guy ran up the stairs, grabbed the gun. He got shot. The lady survived, and he didn't. So the homeless guy got killed, but he saved the lady. And the police came in and took the guy. But he ran up the stairs to save that lady, while the police were obviously trying to negotiate and, just try to talk to the guy who was holding the lady hostage. But in a sad turn of events, the main thing that made this place feel dodgy was also the thing that saved this woman's life.
There in the evening.
So don't judge, guys.
There's also another area in central Sao Paulo called Cracolândia.
Oh gosh. Okay. So you guys know I used to work in a TV station, right? I used to work in Record, which is the third. I'm going to say third so that people won't fight. But when I worked there, it was the second biggest TV station in Brazil. Okay. And we covered the cleanup of the Cracolândia. Our TV van got stoned. Not that way. That was a poor choice of words. When I say stoned, I mean they threw stones at us. Okay, that's what I meant. But it's interesting. I can show you guys pictures from that day. And they threw stones at our van because they didn't know what we were doing there, but we were there to show their side of things. And obviously people didn't like media, and whenever they saw the camera, they would just throw stones at us. And I'm talking about rocks. Okay, I'm talking about rocks. I'm not talking about the stones that they have there, because they have a lot of different stones there. The name is Cracolândia, which means crackland. Okay, and then when this happened, the population of Cracolândia dispersed into the neighborhoods, which I don't know if it was a great idea, but at the same time, I don't know. So right now, at least from what I understand, is that there are different Cracolândias in different parts of Brazil, different parts of São Paulo now, in different neighborhoods. So yeah, let's hear the story. I interrupted.
And then there's also another area in central Sao Paulo called Cracolândia. So that's a very dangerous area which you want to avoid, where they take a lot of illegal substances. Let's just say that.
I mean, it's in the name.
Area here. I mean,
Cracolândia, crackland. It's in the name. It's kind of like death row. Death row? Is that the neighborhood in the United States that has? Is that the name of the neighborhood? Where they're in the United States. I think New York has something like that.
Moves around a bit, I think, but just so you can see, it's pretty central. Okay, and another negative thing about Sao Paulo is the cost of living and the cost of housing. So the cost of living in Sao Paulo is very high compared to other Brazilian cities.
Yeah, I guess.
But it still is lower than many other countries. So if you look at this website again, Numbeo, So this is now the cost of living index. And if we click on Sao Paulo, the index is 32. Compare that to Florianopolis, which I think is slightly lower at 29. But then if we look
Hi,
at the
Noah.
north here, for example, Fortaleza, it's at 28. So they're saying the cost of living is a bit higher in Sao Paulo compared to the other cities. But what I would say is that if you compare the cost of living in Sao Paulo to the smaller towns in Brazil, in the countryside, then you'll have an even bigger difference.
100%.
But if you compare that to some cities in other countries, so if we just look at New York, for example, the index is 100. So Sao Paulo is 32. New York is 100. So saying New York,
I feel like this is subjective, guys. I feel like this is based on dollars. Because if you are living in São Paulo, you are going to feel like you are spending the same amount or the same quality of life that you would in New York. I think this is based on dollars, US dollars. So if you are earning your salary in US dollars and spending it in New York, yeah, then I guess you're gonna spend what you're gonna spend, it's gonna be expensive, but still. And if you're earning in dollars and spending it in Brazil, it's gonna be cheaper. But I feel like if you are earning Brazilian reais, and if you are spending it in Brazilian reais, it's going to be much more expensive. So I don't trust this index, to be honest with you, because even when I went back, like every time I go back to Brazil, to São Paulo, I feel like I'm spending the same amount with the currency as I would here in London. Like literally in London, let's use the Big Mac index. In London, you could buy a Big Mac for I think £8 now, £6 if it's just a burger. £6. When you transfer that into Brazilian reais, that is around I think 50 reais, which is absolutely the same price you would pay if you're in Sao Paulo. You'd pay that price as well. So it feels like it's the same price, but the difference is £6, according to my salary, is a much smaller percentage than 50 reais to the salary of someone who's earning in reais. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about the iPhone. If you're going to spend an iPhone, if you're going to buy an iPhone in New York, it's going to cost you around $1,000. If you're going to buy an iPhone in Brazil, in São Paulo, it's going to cost you 8,000 reais. So with one paycheck, you can buy an iPhone in New York. Whereas in Brazil, you would need 7 paychecks. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like if you are living and working in São Paulo, it's going to be crazy for you to have a decent life,
is 3 times more expensive than Sao Paulo in terms of cost of living. If we look at London, it's 82.
Yeah, but I feel like
And
that's
let's look at
subjective.
Stockholm, 63. So the cost of living is high in Sao Paulo, but significantly lower than the cities in many other countries. And then if you actually click on this, it gives you more details. So it's saying that a single person will need to earn about 3,300 reais per month, excluding rent, in order to live in Sao Paulo. So 3,300.
Did you understand? You need 3,300 without rent. There are people who don't even earn that, let alone without rent. What are you talking about? There are people who, like, as I said, minimum wage is 1,500. You can't. Goodness, guys, I feel like this index is not showing what it, gosh.
Here is $580 per month, but that excludes rent. So if then look at average rent for 1-bedroom apartment in the city center is 3,500 reais. So if you want to look at cost of living including rent, which makes more sense, it's going to be about 7,000 reais. So
Who is earning 7,000 reais? Let me know in the comments right now. Você tá ganhando 7.500 reais? Are you earning 7,500 reais? Are you? No, nobody does. Nobody.
Number to a number at the top there, and 7,000 reais is $1,200 per month. Obviously, this totally depends on your lifestyle and what kind of apartment you want to rent and where you want to rent it. But just to give an indication, it's about $1,200 per month. And also the cost of buying property in Sao Paulo is very high. But actually, it's not the highest in Brazil. There is one place where the cost of property is actually
Santa
higher.
Catarina?
So let's have a look at that. This is a good website to kind of just show you the cost of property in Brazil. So if you go down here, they've got a list of some of the big cities. We look at Sao Paulo, the cost per square meter. They haven't got a cost per square foot. So the cost per square meter of property in Sao Paulo is 9,200 reais, which is $1,600. So you got Rio de Janeiro, which is very similar, but then you got other cities like Recife, Porto Alegre, Fortaleza, which have much lower cost of property. Like I said, there is one city which is actually more expensive than Sao Paulo, and that is Florianópolis in Santa Catarina.
Told you, Santa Catarina, Florianópolis. This is where there's one of the lowest rates of violence. And that's where I used to live as well. I didn't buy property there, but I lived there. I know how it is. It's a beautiful place.
Here it is 9,700 reais per square meter. Paulo isn't the most expensive, but it's at the top. And this is quite a good website actually. So what then you can do is you can actually click on Sao Paulo, and it'll show you which are the most expensive neighborhoods. So here you can see. So you can see here the red is the most expensive, which is in the center of Sao Paulo, which isn't a big surprise. So you got Pinheiros, Vila Madalena, where the price per square meter is 13,000 reais, and then lots of other neighborhoods here. And I think one of the most expensive is this one here, which is Itaim Bibi. And that's where you've got the street of Faria Lima, which I talked about. We've got all the big new high-rise
It's like Manhattan, buildings, downtown Manhattan.
And lots of companies have headquarters there. So I'll just show you a few properties in that area so you can have a look. So let's choose that neighborhood. 2-bedroom apartments. So you can see that you got 2-bedroom apartments for 1,200,000 reais. It's $212,000. Got another apartment here, again 2 bedrooms, slightly bigger, 80 square meters. That's 2.4 million reais. So that's over $400,000. And you can see the prices fluctuate around that, between 1 million and 2 million. But then surrounding this red area here, you've got yellow areas here, which are a bit cheaper. And then going further out, you have green areas. And like any other city, when you're searching for a property, I mean, the key things is that you're close to public transport, it's safe, close to good stores and restaurants and so on. And the same applies to Sao Paulo. I guess the safety aspect is a bit more important in this city. Maybe I can do another video specifically on properties in Sao Paulo. Okay, so that's my opinion on Sao Paulo. I think it's a great city to visit. And I really like going there to see a few friends, visit a few restaurants, bars, and go to a few parks. But I personally would not want to live there. But for someone who's searching for a good job, especially if you want to work for a big multinational company or the headquarters of a big Brazilian business, then I think your prospects of finding a good job are the highest if you go and live in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
Now this video is just about the city of Sao Paulo. Then you've got the state of Sao Paulo as well, full of smaller cities and
which is
towns.
much different.
And there you've got lots of really nice areas to live in as well. And many people, they live in the smaller towns surrounding the city of Sao Paulo. Some commute in, which can be a bit difficult, but a lot do. And a lot of business, they've moved out of the city of Sao Paulo to these smaller cities and towns surrounding the city. So actually, there's a fair bit of wealth and job opportunities in these towns and cities as well. And I actually did a video about the 10 best cities in Brazil, and I did mention a couple of smaller cities in the state of Sao Paulo. Okay, so I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any questions or anything, leave in the commentary below. So thanks for watching. Until next time.
Okay.
Sao
Good,
Paulo.
good. That's a good video. Yeah, I think he didn't lie, you know, and he was very accurate with most of the information. And yeah, he did his research. He did very well. That is São Paulo for you. He didn't mention one thing, though. One thing that comes to mind when you go to São Paulo is the weather. A lot of people think it's very gray and very. It is called. It is called Terra da Garoa, which means the land of the rain, light rain, because it rains. It feels like you're in London. It feels like you're in London because it's always just drizzling. You know what I'm saying? But when it does rain, it pours, and it's crazy how you get the loudest thunder that I've ever heard in my life. It's horrible. It feels like there's a bomb every time, and that causes a lot of floods. So there's a lot of flood, and I remember one place where I was stuck inside a shopping mall because it was absolutely flooded around and we couldn't get out. Nobody could get in, nobody could get out. It was quite interesting. Shopping Bourbon. It was interesting, but it's crazy. Absolutely insane. So floods happen often. But yeah, guys, this video was just to talk about the other side of São Paulo as well. Nobody is criticizing it. It is just what it is. And it's nice to see both sides because we can, you know, see what is good and bad. And that's the equilibrium of life, I would say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much. Do not forget that we are going to react to Tropa de Elite Osuduro de Rue with all the people here who are in our community. Sorry. So if you guys want to go over to the wish list and help out, there it is. As soon as we hit our goal, we'll react to it. Sorry, I am sick, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Muito obrigado, Brasil, por ter assistido. Vamos levar o Brasil para o mundo. And I guess that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed so far. Do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you, Whiplash, for this request. Bye-bye.